Hello everyone. Earlier this year, I kind of set a goal for this car. I knew I wouldn't get it finished by the end of this year, but I figured I'd at least have it assembled and drivable. And obviously we're still a long way from that. But the end of the year is coming up, and I have a few days off with nothing to do, so I decided I'm going to throw the body back on this, borrow a few parts, use some zip ties and duct tape, and get this thing driving. And because it's almost Christmas time, if I can get it driving decently and get the lights working, we'll probably tour some of the Christmas lights neighborhoods with it. So let's get started. Now, if any of you haven't been following this project, this is a 1913 Ford Model T touring car project I've been working on. I bought this pretty much as a restored chassis and have been slowly building a reproduction touring car body for it. I was driving this around with a temporary body on it, so I know the engine and running gear are at least usable. So theoretically I should be able to hook up the ignition system, the fuel system, and it'll start up and run. And then I just need a place to put the seat, and we can drive it. First, let's take a closer look at this. Now the wheels, obviously they're later demountable rim wheels. They've already been respoked, so that's good. Don't have to worry about those. It's got a reproduction brass radiator on it, and it's in a really nice shape. It's never overheated, so that's good. The engine and transmission have been rebuilt. It's a March 1917 engine. It has a Z head on it, but other than that it's pretty much stock. It has a later transmission, but when I got this I added this early housing. So you can see it's got the aluminum housing like it would have in 1913, which I bought just to get the lettered pedal faces. Because if you have an early car, this is one of the best parts of them. The rear axle, somebody took it apart, painted it, and put it back together once. It's still working, so we'll leave it for now. It has what appears to be an original 1912 fuel tank, and it's wrong for the car, but it's working, so I'm going to leave it. Now the frame, quite obviously, is not restored. When I bought this, it had an earlier frame, but it was bent really bad, and the running board brackets were really bent up, so nothing fit. And I spent a few days trying to straighten it out, and I just gave up on it, and I had this frame laying around, so I just swapped it out, just so everything would fit. This is like a 23 to 25-ish frame. As you can tell, it's got the later brackets. I've since found an earlier frame that's in better condition, and when I go through the chassis, I'll swap that out. But for now, it works. You may remember I had to borrow the steering column to get the truck running. Well, we're done using the truck for now, so I'm going to have to take it back. There's a bunch of shoddy temporary electrical wiring on this, and most of these wires I don't even know what they go to, so I'm just going to take them all off and replace it with some new shoddy temporary electrical wiring. Now this engine has been sitting for I don't know how long, so before I fire it up, I'm going to drop a little oil in each cylinder. Probably doesn't need it, but can't hurt. And before we fire it up, I'll make sure it has oil in it. Okay, it's got plenty. Probably due for an oil change. I'll do that sometime. Alright, got the coil box wired up. It's got fuel, it's got oil, it has coolant. It should run. I also borrowed the carburetor off the truck because that was already tuned really well. Now it should run. It runs exactly the same as it did last time, which is exactly what I expected. So I think you can guess what I'm going to do next. And we threw the body back on. So obviously the next step is to bolt it down secure, and then we need to add some things to this to make it drivable. We need headlights, we need a tail light, a brake light, license plates, a windshield, or something that looks like a windshield, and maybe the doors. Now the front half of the body, as I've said before, is pretty much finished. We don't have to worry about that. The back half is still kind of mocked up, but I think I can bolt it down solid enough to where it won't fall off. And if I have time and can figure out how, I'll install floorboards, some kind of rear fenders, and some kind of battery charging system. Now, I have an original 1913 taillight, and this is what I planned on using for this trip, but I chose not to for a few reasons. I don't have the mounting bracket to attach this to the body, and this isn't something you can easily just bolt on. The mounting is kind of tricky, and I could rig up something temporarily, but I don't want this on some temporary bracket behind the car, because if it falls off, I'll probably lose it, and they're pretty expensive if you can find them. So I chose to just borrow the trailer light off the truck, and I just homemade a bracket coming off the frame. And it's already electric. It's got the tail light, the stop light, and mounting for the license plate. So that fixes that. The good news is I have a pair of original side lights, and I can use them. Okay, so here's my wiring. I've got a conventional battery here, That's the power source. Taillight wiring. I have a 28 to early 30 Model A brake light switch connecting to the pedal. So that's operating the brake lights. I wired in an aftermarket ignition switch to turn it on and off. And I have a light switch down here to turn the regular lights on. They're all tied up out of the way. I ended up also borrowing the headlights off the truck because they're electric and they're already working. So, electrically, we're good to go. Well, it's just about ready to go. Still needs a few more things, but it's good enough to drive for now, so I'm going to take it on a test drive and see what happens. This is a pretty exciting moment because this will be the first time that this car, with this body on it, will be driven on its own power on the public roads. And I'll bring the camera with me so you get to watch it too. After that short test drive, I am fully confident that this car can make it across town at night. So, tonight, we're going to take it out and look for some Christmas lights. I installed the lights. We have working headlights, a tail light, a brake light. We have a windshield, sort of. We have mirrors. I put the doors back on it. I didn't get around to installing a charging system, or the rear fenders, or the floorboards. But driving this time of year at night, no floorboards can be a benefit, because all the engine heat goes inside the cabin. So wait until sundown and see what happens. And we made it there and back safely. Now, going there, I was sure we were going to have some kind of problems. I was driving really easy, really slow, letting everyone pass me. And we did have one problem. The hood blew off because I don't have the latches on it. So I just threw it in the back and kept going. But the car ran flawlessly the whole time. On the way home, I had some confidence in this car, so I was keeping up with traffic then. Even though it runs pretty good, I'm probably not going to drive it again for a while, because it just needs too much. It needs a floor, it needs a windshield that has glass in it. The engine makes that clanking, knocking sound that Model T engines are notorious for, so I want to do something about that. So what I'm probably going to do is park this back where it was, put the lights back on the truck, and then just go back to working on the body on this. This probably wasn't one of my best ideas, but I was able to drive this car with the new body on it, all around town, even at night, and I got to do it all before the end of the year, and that was a lot of fun, and I hope you found it entertaining. But anyway, that's it for now. So thank you very much for watching, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time.